Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a feeling that is so core to who we are, so fundamental to our survival, that our brains actually treat its absence like a life or death emergency. We're talking about the science of belonging, and it turns out it's at the absolute heart of our mental wellness.
So let's kick things off with this really provocative idea from Dr. Curtis Peterson. He says our day-to-day mental health, not just diagnosed mental illness, is the real driver behind some of our worst decisions. Now that kind of flips the script on how most of us think about all this. So what's he really getting at?
Well, to really get it, we first have to totally reframe how we even think about mental health in the first place.
Probably the easiest way to understand it is to think about physical health. We all know that being physically healthy isn't just about not having cancer or diabetes, right? It's about the stuff we do proactively, what we eat, how much we move. It's the exact same thing for our minds. Mental health is the active, ongoing work. It's building good relationships, it's developing emotional intelligence. Mental illness, on the other hand, is a specific diagnosable condition, like depression or anxiety. And here is the absolute bottom line. These two things are deeply connected. Just like hitting the gym lowers your risk of heart disease, actively working on your mental health can seriously lower your risk of developing a mental illness. It's basically preventative care for your brain, and it's the key to steering clear of those bad outcomes that Dr. Peterson was talking about.
Okay, so this brings us to what might be the single most important piece of our mental health puzzle, our social identity.
So what is a social identity? It's actually pretty simple. It's the part of you, your idea of yourself, that comes from the groups you feel a part of. Your family, your close friends, maybe your team at work. It seems that for our brains to answer the question, who am I? It first has to answer an even deeper question, who do I belong with?
So what happens when that sense of belonging gets shaky? When the answer to who do I belong to starts to feel like, no one?
Well, what happens is loneliness. But look, this is not just a passing sad feeling. The science is really clear on this. It's a powerful emotional motivational state. You should think of it like a biological alarm bell, one that's just as urgent as hunger or thirst. It's your brain screaming at you that you need to reconnect, because for human beings, connection is survival.
And when that alarm bell just keeps ringing and nobody answers, it can lead us down some really, really dangerous paths.
You can almost map out the downward spiral. It kicks off with a damaged social identity. That can then spin out into chronic, long-term loneliness. And when that state becomes critical, researchers have a name for it, a failure to belong. It's a signal so intense that our brain basically reads it as a fundamental failure to survive.
And the consequences of that failure to survive state, they're just devastating. They ripple out everywhere. You see internal struggles like suicide and addiction, but you also see it manifest externally as aggression toward other people. It even affects our physical bodies, leading to more sickness and can be a factor in things like criminal behavior. This is so much more than just feeling sad. It's a massive public health crisis that's rooted in disconnection.
Now, it's also really important to understand the details here. For instance, suicide and self-harm, they're not the same thing. Their motivations are totally different. Suicide is usually an attempt to end pain and suffering for good, but self-harm is often an attempt to relieve overwhelming emotional pain with physical pain. That's a huge distinction, especially if you're trying to help someone.
Okay, but we do have to talk about the dark side of this powerful need to belong. Because sometimes having a really strong in-group identity can lead people to look down on an out-group, almost as a way to feel better about their own group, and that can be a seed for prejudice and discrimination. It's a good reminder that the quality of our connections really matters.
So, if disconnection is the problem, reconnection has to be the answer, right? The good news is there's some really clear, practical things you can do to rebuild those bonds and turn things around. So let's look at the path forward.
Dr. Peterson gives us this awesome, easy-to-remember framework called EASE. So E is for extend yourself. You just have to take that first small step. A is for making an action plan, like get specific. What are you actually going to do? S is for selection. Be picky. Choose to be around people and in places that actually feel good. And finally, E is for expect the best. Seriously, your mindset here is huge. Going into it with some optimism can actually make it happen.
But what if it's not you? What if it's a friend who's really struggling? The advice here is so important. Your job isn't to fix them. Your job is to listen. And I mean really listen, without judgment. To be a steady, supportive presence even if they push you away at first. And probably the two most important things are, don't try to play therapist and diagnose them, and gently but consistently encourage them to talk to a professional.
So what does one of these healthy connections actually look like?
Well, according to the research, whether we're talking about a friendship or a marriage, it pretty much boils down to 3 key ingredients. Number 1, emotional security. That feeling that you are safe to be 100% yourself. Number 2, you're genuinely best friends. And number 3, clear role formation. So you both know what you bring to the relationship.
And how do we make those bonds strong enough to last? Well, it all starts with self-awareness, knowing where you're at mentally. It also means protecting your own well-being by staying away from toxic people. But maybe the biggest thing is to diversify. Don't put all of your social eggs in one basket. Having a wider network of friends and family makes your entire social world so much stronger and more resilient.
And look, this isn't just theory or some nice ideas. The latest, cutting-edge science is confirming just how powerful connection is with some pretty startling new findings.
A 2023 study put it in this stark, simple equation. Suicide often equals depression plus loneliness. That just shows you what a powerful protective shield social connection can be, even when someone is dealing with a serious mental illness.
And get this isn't just about your mood. Research from just this year, 2024, found that social isolation can literally speed up the aging process in your brain. Just let that sink in for a second. The health of your social life is physically tied to the health of your brain.
And maybe the most powerful finding of all. Another study from 2023 discovered that using social connection as a form of self-care was actually more effective at reducing symptoms of depression and anxiety than a lot of other traditional self-care methods. Reaching out to someone isn't just a nice thing to do, it is potent medicine.
So the evidence here is just overwhelming. Connection is not a luxury. It's not a nice to have. It is a biological necessity for both our mental and our physical health. The science is crystal clear, which means the only question left is the one we all have to ask ourselves. Who will you connect with today?